Let's make something clear, because it's easy to misunderstand what you're about to hear. This is not about accusing Fidelity or any institution of bad intent. It's about retirement benchmarks being extremely unhelpful or misleading for those not making $200,000-300,000 plus. By the end of this video, you'll understand what that specific benchmark is, why, although it seems responsible, it often keeps people working far longer than necessary, and finally, what you can very calmly and carefully be doing instead to make sure your family isn't going to run out of money. This comes up constantly when I review retirements for families who just assume they're going to be working to 65 or 70 because they feel behind. And you might be thinking, look, a retirement benchmark is just meant to help people be safe with their savings and push them in the right direction. And for the most part, that's true. The problem is when these guidelines become hard to figure out how to apply them to yourself. And because of that, retirement is delayed unnecessarily. And if you feel like you've done everything right, but still feel a ways behind, this is probably why. The problem likely isn't saving more. The problem is what you're being told to save toward and whether that target actually matches how retirement income works for you. So let's get into it. So this chart is from Fidelity. It shows you how many times your salary you should aim to have saved for retirement by age, assuming that you end up keeping the same expenses in retirement that you have now. They define that by assuming your savings will need to cover 45% of your expenses and Social Security will cover the other 55%. As you can see, the big number there is 10 times your salary by age 67, if you are going to retire at 67. So that means, and the article clarifies this, if you are planning to retire earlier, like 65, that target rises up to 12 times your salary. If you work until 70, it drops down to 8 times. However, all of this is based around that 45% target for how much of your spending needs to come from your savings. Fidelity defines that as an average lifestyle. It says if you expect your expenses to go down when you retire, they refer to that as a below average lifestyle, which on the surface, yeah, it seems true. You don't want to reduce your lifestyle when you switch from working to retirement, but here's what that's not telling you. When you were working, you had a mortgage payment. You were saving maybe 15% of your income. You were paying 7.65% in payroll taxes. You were raising kids and more. So just because your expenses may actually be 60 to 80% of what they were when you were working, that doesn't necessarily mean your lifestyle was reduced at all. In fact, Fidelity even admits this in another article of theirs, saying expenses in retirement can generally be expected to be about 55 to 80% of your working salary. Now, let's take a closer look, because when I run real retirement software for actual families, we don't use multiples of income. We use their actual numbers, their real spending, their real tax situation, their real Social Security benefits. And that's where these benchmarks are going to really start to break down. Now, you might be thinking they don't seem too off here. Yes, you made some good points, but what's the real harm in saving a bit more? And you're not necessarily wrong to think that way. More savings are generally better than less. But here's the issue. According to another Fidelity article, the annual income range of $120,000 plus has an estimated retirement income replacement ratio of 55 to 65%. So using the higher number there, that means a married couple earning $150,000 a year at 67 would need $97,500 a year, or $81.25 a month. So just using a benefit calculator on the Social Security Administration's website, they'd be taking in about $4,824 a month. That means they would need another $3,301 a month just to get to that fully taxable number they had before in income, which also is likely going to be able to be strongly reduced because of no payroll taxes, additional senior deductions at 65, some of their savings being in non-pre-tax accounts, etc. And using a 5% withdrawal rate, given they are a bit older, they would need, if all of their money is pre-tax, $792,240. That's $707,000 less than the benchmark suggests. That's 5+ more years of work. And still, they could lower this number by optimizing their withdrawal strategy, by having some of those savings in post-tax accounts, by adding in any existing pensions or purchasing one, and more. And that's just one example. If that couple, for example, had paid off their mortgage and they just want to live on $60,000 a year or $5,000 a month, they already have $4,800 a month coming in from Social Security. They hardly need anything saved. And I always come back to this, but it's reality. According to Investopedia, approximately 3.2% of retirees have $1 million or more saved. According to the Federal Reserve, the median retirement savings at 67 in the United States is $200,000. In 2022, the Employee Benefit Research Institute launched a study on retirement spending in the US, and they found, although things have increased since 4 years ago, approximately half of retirees say they were spending $2,000 or less on a monthly basis. 1 in 3 between $2,000 and $4,000, and just about 19% spending $4,000 or more. And if this kind of straight talk about maybe not needing millions of dollars to retire sounds good to you, subscribe to the channel. You have my word, these videos are about you, your problems, and how to overcome them. So you heard the stats. No, this isn't a rare case. This pattern shows up constantly. For families making $120,000 to $180,000, pretty much the exact range nearly all of my clients fall into, these assumptions often miss the mark completely. And if you're thinking, okay, but I still need some kind of benchmark, I can't just wing it, you're absolutely right. You shouldn't wing it. But you also shouldn't rely on a multiple of your salary when retirement income doesn't work that way. So here's the framework families actually use when they get clarity. Step 1, know your actual spending now. So this isn't budgeting out or trying to predict your retirement expenses. It's simply just tracking what you are already spending. From there, once you've gathered maybe 3 to 6 months of data, then you can start to make an educated guess on how that may change in retirement. And be real with yourself on this. Just because you had 1 month that was $4,000 in spending and the average was $6,000, that doesn't mean you want to run projections with the lower number. Remember, we always want to be conservative here. Step 2 is identify your guaranteed income sources. So that's Social Security. You can run your actual benefits at ssa.gov. Don't guess on this. Pensions, even smaller ones, matter. Annuities, if you have them. Rental income, if applicable. Step 3 is to calculate the gap. So your monthly spending estimate minus the guaranteed income, that's your monthly gap. You can turn that into an annual gap by multiplying that by 12. Then, depending on if you're using a 4 or 5% withdrawal rate, multiply that annual number by 20 or 25 to get your estimate. So for example, if you need $6,000 a month and you have $3,000 coming in from Social Security, $1,500 in pension income adjusting for inflation, you'll need about $1,500 a month. So that's times 12, $18,000 a year. If you multiply that times 20, there's $360,000 saved. That's your estimate. And now still, of course, I just made a video critiquing benchmarks and then gave you a benchmark. This one just works a little better, but it still needs to be taken with a grain of salt. The real way to stress test all of this is to get your numbers ran through real retirement software. When families do this properly, just last month, a single 59-and-a-half-year-old with $450,000 and $120,000 income realized he could retire 5+ years earlier than he thought and gift $10,000 a year to his kids, which he didn't think possible. Another couple with $700,000 stopped planning to both work until 70 and instead planned for 62. None of them needed to hit the benchmark. They needed to understand their actual numbers. Now, I know this challenges what you've been told by trusted institutions, and I'm not saying Fidelity or any other firm is lying to you. These benchmarks aren't evil. They're just built for their business model, not your specific situation. Think of it this way. A car dealership will tell you about safety features that benefit the profit margins. That doesn't mean the car or the safety features are bad. It just means you should understand the incentives. Same with retirement benchmarks. Understanding how they benefit the institution helps you evaluate those properly. So yes, you are allowed to question whether you need $1.5 million to retire. You are allowed to run your own numbers and retire earlier than a generic calculator suggests. So now that you understand why the 10 times your money at 67 benchmark doesn't work backwards from actual retirement needs, you're probably wondering, Okay, but what do I actually need for my specific spending level? In this video here on screen now, I show you exactly how much you need to retire and spend $5,000 a month at age 60, 65, and 70, both single and married. We break down the numbers with real Social Security factored in, taxes, and safe withdrawal rates. After you watch that video, you'll have concrete targets for your situation, not generic multiples of your income. I'll see you there.